Good morning, guys. I hope you're doing well. I'm hanging in there, and so is Elizabeth and Eloy. Today we're going to be looking at Esther chapter 5, so let's dive on in. Now, last time we saw that Esther and Mordecai, they developed a plan to counter or try to fight against this decree that Haman had the king sign. And so Esther, according to their plan, she gets herself all prettied up, dressed up, and in a way that she's going to catch the king's eye, and then she goes and stands out in the court. And when the king sees her, he invites her up and says, "Kiss my scepter," which was a sign of being allowed to speak, being recognized by the king. And the king says, "What is your request? What is it that you want?" Now, the king obviously noticed that something was up. She doesn't just normally do this. And so he decides to find out what's going on. And Esther makes a request and invites Haman and the king to a banquet that night. Now, Haman's probably feeling pretty stoked about this, pretty pumped. He gets to go to an exclusive banquet with the king and queen. They're the only three people there. He's probably feeling pretty high and on top of the world about it. So that night they go to the banquet, and I assume it's at night. That to me just makes the most sense. It could be during the day, but either way, they go to the banquet, and they have the banquet, and the king during the banquet says, "All right, my queen, what is it that you want? What is your request?" And the queen says, "Well, I'm not quite ready, basically. I'm not quite ready to share that. Come back tomorrow night, and I will make my request then, as the king has asked me to do." And so Haman and the king both agree, and they depart. And Haman, he's leaving the banquet, and he's feeling pretty much on top of the world. Nothing can stop him until he gets to the gate, and he bumps into Mordecai. And Mordecai again angers him and causes him great indignation, as my Bible puts it. Basically, Mordecai doesn't show Haman the respect Haman thinks he deserves, and he leaves, and he's frustrated and he's angry, and he gets home and he's fuming. He's telling his wife about this great banquet he got to go to, and telling his buddies about the banquet, and then he's talking about how angry he is with Mordecai. And he says, "What am I going to do about this Mordecai guy?" And his wife and their friends say, "Hey, why don't you build a gallows 50 cubits high?" Now, a cubit is about 18 inches, so 75 feet high. Now, if you're like me, when you hear the word gallows, you think of Old West movies where they build this wooden stage with a beam that goes across that you'd hang ropes from for hanging people. But in Old Testament times, a gallows was not for hanging people. It was a wooden stake used to impale someone for everyone to see. Now, Haman, he likes the idea of building this gallows to put Mordecai on when the day comes for the Jews to be killed. And so he says, "Yeah, I'm going to do that." And he gets on it right away. And that, guys, is basically the summary of chapter 5. As far as a spiritual point, something to take home or to remember as you go throughout your day, we talked about Esther having faith and needing to take action. And here we see her do that. Esther steps out in faith, even though it could be costly to her to appear before the king unrequested, unsummoned. But she steps out in faith and trusts God, and God clears the way. Now again, we don't see the word God mentioned anywhere in this passage, but I think it's pretty clear, guys, that God is at work here. It's God who's clearing the way for this to happen. So as you go throughout your day, remember that when you step out in faith, when you trust God, even though it might be a costly step, He is going to provide. He is going to use your faith for amazing things. All right, guys, that's all I got for you today. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope the boredom and the being home isn't driving you crazy. I hope you're finding plenty to do. If you ever want to talk, just hit me up. I'm on Facebook or phone or whatever. Take care, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.